This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour, Israel continues to target Hamas's vast tunnel network. Netanyahu warns Hezbollah to rethink before choosing sides with Hamas. G7 presents a unified stance after Tokyo meet, seek immediate release of hostages, agree to address humanitarian crisis caused by Israel-Hamas conflict. Other news, patent applications grew by 31.6% in India. Indian Prime Minister Modi says rise in patent applications demonstrate the rising innovative zeal of Indian youth. And 2023 is all set to be the warmest year on record. Scientists say Earth has not witnessed such high temperatures in more than 100,000 years. And in sports, soccer action, Chelsea moves into top half of the Premier League table with a 4-1 win against Tottenham. Jackson's hat-trick plays the trick for Chelsea FC. Our top story. The upcoming 5th annual US-India 2+2 ministerial dialogue in India's national capital, New Delhi, kickstarts on 10th of November. The event will be attended by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. The dialogue takes place amid ongoing international conflicts, Ukraine-Russia war and the Israel-Hamas conflict, which has a bearing on strategic dynamics and also global outlook of both nations. We get you more.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar will welcome US Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken and Secretary of Defence Lloyd J. Austin III for the 5th India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue in New Delhi on 10th November 2023. As per India's External Affairs Ministry, the 2+2 will enable a high-level review of progress being made in cross-cutting aspects of defence and security cooperation, technology value chain collaborations, and people-to-people ties. The 5th edition of 2+2 will deliberate upon India-US partnership as envisioned by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joe Biden in their discussions in June and September this year. Moreover, both sides will review regional issues and augmenting cooperation in multilateral platforms and frameworks such as the Quad. Recalling some critical deliverables in 4th India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue held in April 2022, the discussions revolved around global partnership and Indo-Pacific cooperation, response to the worsening humanitarian crises in Ukraine, and assessing its broader implications, joint commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, innovation and resilient supply chains, climate and clean energy besides global health. Both sides welcomed the expanding cooperation between the energy sectors, acknowledging the importance of deepening collaboration in science and technology in evolving new defense domains, space and artificial intelligence. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India.
And ahead of the 5th India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for South and Southeast Asia, Dr. Joseph H. Felter, has hailed Indo-US ties, stating that defense ministers and foreign ministers of the United States will have conversations with their Indian counterparts, something which underscores the kind of significance or importance US accords to this dialogue.
I think it's a great example of the significance and importance that both the U.S. and India placed on the relationship. The fact that our very, very busy defense ministers and foreign ministers are coming together and talk about areas where we can cooperate, it just says a lot about the importance of the U.S.-India relationship and the importance that both sides placed on that. So I think it's very encouraging. We certainly, from the U.S. perspective, want to see India become a regional power, a net security provider, assuming its natural role in the region, and the whole world benefits with a strong Indian defense.
And innovations for defense excellence under the Department of Defense Production, Indian Ministry of Defense and US Department of Defense organized the Maiden Indus X Investors Meet on Wednesday in national capital as a precursor to the 2+2 Indo-US Ministerial Dialogue. Now, Indus X educational series was also launched during the event. Doug Beck, the director of the Defense Innovation Unit, DIU, and US DoD, Department of Defense, that is, led the US delegation, and Vivek Virmani, COO of CIO, led the Indian delegation. The event was coordinated by US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, Indus Tech. The first ever Indus X Investors event evinced the interest of the investors in the startups and MSCs operating in the defense sector and the emerging opportunities under the Indus X initiative. And Benji Hire, DD India correspondent from Washington, D.C., joins us to give us a U.S. perspective on the upcoming 2+2 dialogue format conversations that are going to take place amongst the top leadership of India and U.S. Benji Hire, good evening. So how does, to begin with, the Biden administration view this fifth edition of the format-level engagement between India and U.S., especially if we look at the timings of it amidst the current global shift and whatever is happening in Israel, Ukraine, Russia, etc.?
Exactly so. I mean, the timing of this is no coincidence. The Indo-Pacific, the world at large, is undergoing a significant transition. And this meeting coming off the back of a wider tour by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's been visiting Israel and the Palestinian territories, as well as over the past couple of days several Asian nations, in order to reassert the US's stance on a variety of different issues, culminating in this trip where he'll be joined by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. It's an opportunity to continue reaffirming what both sides call a visionary roadmap set out primarily when President Joe Biden met his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi here in Washington, D.C., and then later at the G20, and an opportunity to, you know, discuss some of those points that you talked about before, India's stance on that conflict in the Middle East and the war that's still evolving in Eastern Europe.
Having said that, it is also expected that both sides will share the priorities and the kind of engagement. Remember, earlier we've had 4 almost editions of the similar format. What is the kind of significance or importance that the Biden administration is according to this 2+2, fifth 2+2 edition dialogue?
Well, in the same way that they've talked about US-India relations being important for the security of both nations, advancing technology, it's also a chance to establish a relationship to try to counter a collective threat in the eyes of both Washington and New Delhi, and that is China. Ultimately, there is wariness about what both countries perceive as an increased threat from China in the region. And this is ultimately an opportunity for Mr. Blinken to explore that further with his Indian counterparts and also speak to wider areas of collaboration and cooperation. You might recall that during discussions held in Washington, D.C. between Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden, there were details of that major defense pact to manufacture jet engines. The US, of course, a major defense partner for India. So this is a chance, too, to explore those arrangements further, and perhaps politics aside, although everything is linked to politics nowadays, explore further scientific collaboration in space travel, for example, which is being discussed widely already between the US Defense Department and many different Indian startups.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for giving us an insight as far as Biden administration is concerned. Benji Hire joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much. And we're joined by now former senior diplomat Ambassador Mohan Kumar to take this discussion further and understand from Indian perspective as well. Ambassador Kumar, thank you very much. Appreciate, sir, for taking our time for this special broadcast on our DD India channel. To begin with, the timings of the dialogue amidst the ongoing international conflicts and the shift in the current world order, the dynamics, strategic dynamics and the global outlook in the immediate neighborhood and beyond Europe also, that is, has implication on both nations. And when two sides meet today, what are they going to talk on 10th?
Yes, Sakal, thank you very much for having me. I think you put it very well. I think the background for these talks is a kind of strategic turbulence that we have not seen for many, many years. I mean, even while Ukraine is burning, We have a problem in Gaza. And Tony Blinken will actually be coming to Delhi from a G7 meeting. I think they've taken some decisions, at least by way of a statement, in terms of conveying a message to Israel. He then goes back to Washington, and then there is a meeting between Joe Biden and Xi Jinping in California. So what I'm trying to convey is that there is, of course, strategic turbulence, but there is also a diplomatic dance that's going on in the world. Some of these India is not part of.
Right.
So frankly, I find this 2+2 extremely timely. We need to understand from our American friends what is the prognosis in the Middle East. Tony Blinken has just finished a round of talks with Arab leaders. So we need to know what is going on in the Middle East because, as you know, we have 8 to 9 million people who reside in the Middle East. Wider conflagration is not in our interest. Secondly, as your correspondent in Washington pointed out, there is a roadmap. And interestingly, the roadmap is expected to act as a bridge between the 2015 Defense Cooperation Agreement, which is going to be completely overhauled and renegotiated in 2024. So this roadmap is to act as a bridge. And one of the things the roadmap says is to make India the logistic hub in the Indo-Pacific.
Yeah.
The Americans want India to be the logistic hub, which means in areas like intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, undersea domain awareness, the repair and maintenance of aircrafts and ships. So there are lots of agenda items even on the bilateral front.
Okay.
So I would say two things. One, we need to get a thorough briefing from our American friends on what is going on in Ukraine and what is going on in Gaza.
Okay.
What is going to happen when Xi Jinping meets Joe Biden? What's happening in the American-Chinese relationship? Because it has implications for India. And finally, of course, the US-India bilateral relationship itself, on which there are a number of items that need to be discussed.
Okay. How are both sides expected to navigate as far as the difference on certain positions is concerned? Because like you rightly mentioned, Ambassador Kumar, that the timings of it is crucial, critical. Is it going to be a bit of a tight walk or balancing act for US Biden administration?
No, look, I think...
What are the challenges?
Yeah, no, I think it will be a frank and honest conversation. Lying to you if I said we would agree on everything. For example, there are indications the Americans might again raise the issue on Canada and ask India, listen, can you cooperate with Canada? That's possible. That is one of the areas that might come up. But on a wide variety of issues, I actually see tremendous strategic convergence between America and India, especially Sakal. I think the issue facing United States is today, to put it bluntly to your audience, do the Americans have the strategic bandwidth to handle Ukraine, Gaza, and if something were to happen in South China Sea or Taiwan? Do you think Americans can do this? So that is a question that we have to ask as well, because Indo-Pacific is an important region for India, and the focus seems to be now on Gaza, which is sucking all the oxygen out of speakers and diplomats. And if suddenly something happens in Indo-Pacific, we need to be ready for that. And that is a conversation that I'm sure we will be having with our American friends as well. So I think all in all, I cannot think of a 2+2 that is more timely, because you said in your opening remarks, it takes place against cascading strategic turbulence in which nobody is quite sure what will happen next.
Yes. Ambassador Kumar, yes. Ambassador Kumar, just final question very quickly now. Besides the current timings and the intent of both countries when it comes to the geopolitics, taking the conversations forward, Indian Prime Minister's visit to Washington, D.C. earlier in the year, and then Biden administration, G20, and now today again, the two sides will meet.
Yes, I think, look, I'll be honest, nobody has confirmed it yet. But it appears from newspaper reports that January, India will be quite happy to host a Quad summit. And we may have even extended an invitation to Joe Biden to be the chief guest on 26 January. I'm not speaking because I have some intelligence. I'm merely going to press reports. But the Quad summit is definitely due in India. And preparations have to start because we are already in November. So I think a lot of issues on the agenda. And I think it's a good, when the 2+2 happens, you have two formats. Format is that all four ministers meet because some items are overlapping between the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of External Affairs. But the External Affairs Minister will also have a one-on-one with Tony Blinken, American Secretary, and so will Sri Rajnath Singh with his American counterpart. So you also have that format. So a whole host of issues. And I think it's timely, it's more timely from India's perspective, in my view, because we need to know what the Americans are up to, because the Americans are the ones who are getting involved in Ukraine, in Gaza, and in Quad. So we need to know the American thinking on these issues.
Right. All right. Many thanks, Ambassador Kumar. We'll leave it there due to the paucity of time. Thank you really for joining us on this broadcast. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next. Top diplomats from the G7 have issued a joint statement condemning Hamas, supporting Israel's right to self-defense and calling for humanitarian pauses in Gaza. Israel initiates an operation targeting Hamas tunnels within Gaza City. And the European Union proposes membership talks with Ukraine.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and let's move on. Wednesday is day 33 of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now, some news agencies report that Israel has initiated an operation targeting the Hamas tunnels within Gaza City. Israel has come also under mounting diplomatic pressure for humanitarian ceasefire, reportedly. The next report tells you more about the Israeli military's retaliation against Hamas after the 7th October attacks, from ground operations to tracking concealed rocket launchers and much more.
Israeli forces are currently engaged in a month-long offensive against Hamas. Prime Minister Netanyahu has clearly stated that the operations are taking place from within Gaza.
Gaza City is encircled. We are operating inside it. We are increasing pressure on Hamas every hour, every day. We have killed thousands of terrorists above ground and below ground.
Netanyahu also warned Hezbollah to rethink before choosing sides with Hamas.
If Hezbollah chooses to join the war, it'd be making a big mistake. No ceasefire without the release of our hostages.
Hamas terrorists launched anti-tank missiles at IDF troops from several locations. In response, IDF troops killed several terrorists and found concealed rocket launchers and numerous weapons inside a school in the northern region of the conflict. World leaders have also called for hostage release. US President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu held a discussion on potential pauses in fighting for humanitarian reasons. Israel has agreed to it in a war of self-defense. World Health Organization reiterated an urgent need for humanitarian pause.
Access is necessary, and that is to be done through air, not through air, but through road. This way we can bring in the supplies. We have the supplies. The whole UN has the supplies outside of Gaza at the south and the Rafah crossing.
The number of evacuees leaving Gaza via Rafah border also spiked At least 500 people crossed Rafah on Tuesday after evacuations were suspended on Saturday and Sunday.
DD India's Amrit Pal, who continues to report from Tel Aviv, joins us live on this broadcast. Amrit, good evening. Now, Israel maintains there cannot be any ceasefire without the release of hostages. To begin with, just share us some more insights from the war zone. What more information can you share with the viewers of DD India?
Well, the Israelis have encircled the Gaza city. They've got their tanks there, their infantry there. They could break into the Gaza city anytime. The next 24 hours would be crucial. The Israeli IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, claim that they have, broken the shaft of about 130 tunnels. Their combat engineers have done that. Their Nahal brigade has taken control of a military training facility of the Hamas. They claim to have killed a few commanders of the Hamas, though they're not putting numbers to it. They have suffered casualties also. 31 soldier was killed now. That takes the count to 31. Civilian count is above, death count is above 10,600. Close to about 40,000 injured. Gaza cut off in two parts. They are, moving in from the north, from the Erez in point, and from Tal al-Hawa. Some civilians, about 15,000 of them did move to the south, though the IDF claims the Hamas is preventing them from moving to use them as human shields. Now the close combat begins. As I said, next 24 hours are crucial. So we'll have to see. They don't share their military strategy details as to will they go inside the tunnels, get into close combat, or use some kind of gases or water to flush out the Hamas guerrillas from the tunnels and then fight them on ground. Aerial strikes continue both in north and also south. Khan Yunis was attacked. They say they attacked, they have specific intelligence. They attacked the refugee camps where Hamas had reportedly taken shelter. Okay. So that's what they're doing, yeah.
Meanwhile, the fate of hostages still continues to hang in balance?
That's right. Hostages continues to hang in balance. There are some mediations going on via Qatar, but they've been going on for a long time now. It's been 33 days. They put the figure at anywhere between 240 to 242. So but only 5 have been released so far, 2 American women, 2 Israeli old ladies, and 1 Israeli soldier. Both sides are still taking maximalist positions. Israel saying no ceasefire without the release of hostages. Hamas saying ceasefire first, plus prisoner swap. So I think the Israeli strategy is to carry on with its military action, intensify that, weaken Hamas much more. Their assessment is that a weakened Hamas would be more amenable to their demands. They can then negotiate from a position of strength. The Hamas believes once they come into close combat, they will take a hit, and then the Israeli army would then be, they'll have an upper hand on the negotiations, and as numbers climb, the international pressure will mount. So the Israelis will be forced to make more concessions. But right now, both sides taking maximalist positions, even as the military campaign intensifies, not by the day, by the hour cycle.
And when Netanyahu says that the overall security has to remain with the security of Gaza will remain with Israel, what's the message that he's trying to send across? And, this whole international pressure mounting on Israel for humanitarian passage in Gaza, do you think it is, this has any bearing? Is Netanyahu even listening?
When Netanyahu says, overall security of Gaza will remain with Israel, what does he mean? He means they're not going back to 7th October. They're going perhaps back to pre-2005. They would want their army there. 2005 September is when their army and their Israeli settlements, 21 settlements, about 8,000 Jews moved out of there after Ariel Sharon, the then Prime Minister, struck a deal. And then 2006 Hamas wins elections and Hamas had its Al-Qasim brigades, etc. So the Israelis were only controlling the airspace and the maritime space. So now it clearly means that the boots will stay on the ground. The Americans have reacted very strongly, saying that any kind of post-Hamas arrangement will have to have the Palestinians at the forefront. When Antony Blinken met Mahmoud Abbas, he had suggested a role for the Palestinian Authority, which the Palestinian Authority right now is not ready to take. It says it has to go at 367. Unless a two-state solution is found, it will not take on the role in Gaza. So right now, everybody is sort of putting out their positions. It will depend upon, what happens post-Hamas. Will Hamas totally be decimated? That is the stated objective, but that's easier said than done. Half the Hamas leadership is sitting outside the Gaza Strip. They are in Beirut, they are in Doha, they are in UAE, they are all over the place. So, what role will the Arab countries have to play in that? So, what will Iran do? So, all that will depend upon that. But Netanyahu clearly, Netanyahu's best bet would be to put Israeli the security forces there and then have a West Bank kind of situation with Al-Fatah, running the show politically, and then the Israelis doing what they want to with Al-Fatah, letting them, handle the security aspect of it. Because he wouldn't want another 7th October to happen. So that is what he would want, but it will, as I said, will depend upon what situation emerges post this war.
Okay.
Sakal?
Okay, Amrit, we'll leave it there, but please take care of yourself and thank you very much for joining us live from Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, top diplomats from the G7 have issued a joint statement condemning Hamas, supporting Israel's right to self-defense and calling for humanitarian pauses in Gaza. G7 joint statement comes at the end of the two-day foreign ministers meeting in Tokyo. Now, clarifying U.S. stand on post-conflict governance in Gaza. Antony Blinken has said that Hamas can't be allowed to rule over Gaza, but at the same time, Israel won't occupy the territory. Here is the latest.
World leaders have once again condemned the Hamas attack on Israel. Top diplomats from the group of 7 leading industrial democracies announced a unified stance on the Israel-Hamas war on Wednesday after intensive meetings in Tokyo.
G7 members have agreed to unequivocally condemn the terrorist attack by Hamas and others, and secondly, to seek the immediate release of hostages. Thirdly, we have agreed that it's necessary to take urgent action to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We have agreed to allow unrestricted humanitarian assistance, including food, water, medical care, fuel, shelter, and access for those involved in humanitarian aid access to Gaza.
Talking to media persons after the meeting in Tokyo, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Gaza cannot continue to be run by Hamas. But at the same time, Israel cannot occupy Gaza.
When it comes to post-conflict governance in Gaza, a few things are clear and necessary. One, Gaza cannot be continue to be run by Hamas. That simply invites a repetition of October 7th, and Gaza used as a place from which to launch terrorist attacks.
G7 nations also reiterated their support for Ukraine. It was the second joint statement from the G7 since Hamas sparked the conflict with an October 7 attack on southern Israel, killing 1,400 people and taking some 240 hostages. Raghav Kumar Jha, reporting for DD India.
Shifting focus to U.S. primaries, where voters in the United States have chosen governors in Kentucky and Mississippi. Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, who wants to expand healthcare access, has won the re-election in Kentucky. And in Ohio, voters approved a constitutional amendment guaranteeing abortion rights, which means the state's proposed ban on abortions after about 6 weeks cannot go into effect. In Mississippi, Republican Governor Tate Reeves has won his bid for re-election against Democrat Brandon Presley, and in Virginia, Democrats won control of both legislative chambers. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed the European Union executive recommendation to open membership talks with Kyiv, calling it the right step in history.
Today, the history of Ukraine and the whole of Europe has taken the right step. The European Commission has recommended starting membership negotiation with Ukraine. This is pure positive. Despite all the difficulties, we are moving forward. Already in December, we expect a political decision from the European Council.
And on Wednesday, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has recommended to invite Ukraine to begin membership talks as soon as it meets the final conditions laid down by the European Union.
Today, the Commission recommends that the Council opens accession negotiations with Ukraine. Ukraine has completed, I was there over the weekend and could convince myself, well over 90% of the necessary steps that we set out last year in our report. And on this basis, we have recommended today that the Council opens accession negotiations. We also recommend that the Council adopts a negotiating framework once Ukraine has carried out the ongoing reforms.
In other news, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday visited veteran BJP leader L.K. Advani at his residence to wish him on his birthday as the veteran leader turns 96. Along with Prime Minister Modi, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Home Minister Amit Shah also met and greeted Lal Krishna Advani. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's higher education soars. India surpasses China. IIT Bombay secures 40th position in QS Asia ranking. And pollution levels in India's national capital, New Delhi, continues to deteriorate as the air quality index soars. Patent applications grow by 31.6% in India. Indian Prime Minister hails rise in patent applications.
A world that never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Let's move on. Well, in India, patent applications grew by 31.6%. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says rise in these patent applications demonstrate the rising innovative zeal of India's youth. And 2023 is all set to be the warmest year on record. Scientists say Earth has not witnessed such high temperatures in more than 100,000 years. And in some soccer action, Chelsea moves into top half of the Premier League table with a 4-1 win against Tottenham. Jackson's hat-trick plays the trick for Chelsea FC. And in the newly released QS Asia Universities Rankings 2024, India has surpassed China to become the most represented higher education system. The 2024 World University Ranking by Q Simons is out, and with 148 universities in ranking list, India also becomes the country in Asia with highest number of universities being featured, surpassing China with 133 and Japan with 96 universities. The Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, secures the top spot in India with 40th position, followed by IIT Delhi at the 46th position and IIT Madras at the 53rd position. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has welcomed rise in patent applications in India. According to World Intellectual Property Indicators report, patent applications by residents of India grew by 31.6% in 2022, extending an 11-year run of growth unmatched by any other country among the top 10 fillers.
The latest report of WIPO, the organization that releases innovation index in the world, has revealed that in the year 2022, more than 34 lakh patents were filed from all over the world. In 2022, patent applications increased by 32% in India, which is the highest among the innovative countries in the world. Prime Minister wrote on X platform in his response to the report, the increase in patent applications in India reflects the enthusiasm for innovation among our youth and is very positive for the times to come. In fact, after the launch of Startup India mission in 2015, there was indeed a lot of enthusiasm among youth regarding innovation. Today, India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world.
India has made significant progress in the Global Innovation Index. It is moved in the top 40 last year in 2022. This is a remarkable achievement, and particularly in the income category that India is in, it is amongst the top performing nations when it comes to Global Innovation Index.
Government announced reduction of up to 80% in the cost of filing patents under Startup India mission. In September 2021, fees on patents filed by educational institutions were also reduced by 80%. A total of 45,444 patents were filed in the year 2016-17, while in 2022, the number is more than 55,700. In this journey of 7 years, 1.14 lakh new startups were born and the number of unicorns has crossed the century. According to the latest data, 70% of these unicorns have been created in the last 3 years, whose valuation is more than $1 billion.
We have definitely felt that the process is a bit easy to understand, and for that we take help from our IIT Ropar and FIT IIT Delhi. So where in the process they take an abstract from us, what is the thing you are going to file as a patent, what are the novelties in that, then they help us in drafting the complete specification or the provisional specification by broadening the whole scope of the patent so that we can safeguard our innovation for a broader spectrum.
The WIPO report says the highest number of domestic patents were filed in India and China, while the UK, Australia and Switzerland filed the highest number of patents outside the country. India was among the top 5 countries in filing trademarks in 2022, when 29 lakh trademarks were filed. Ajay Mishra reporting for DD India.
In a major boost to global collaboration in education, 2 leading Australian universities have announced that they will be opening their campuses in Gift City in India's western state of Gujarat.
Located on the banks of Sabarmati River in western India, the Gift City or Gujarat International Finance Tech City is emerging as finance and technology hub of national and global importance. In the latest development, the city created history after 2 prestigious Australian universities, Deakin and Wollongong, announced that they will be opening their campuses in Gift City. The announcement was made in the presence of Indian Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan and his Australian counterpart Jason Clare in Gift City.
Our 21st century is going to be the knowledge-based society. It should be a knowledge-based economy. So this kind of bridge between both the countries, between both the democracies, will certainly create a new ecosystem of knowledge and service-based economy.
This is a historic day. These are the first 2 international universities to be given approval to establish a campus in India, Wollongong University and Deakin University, and I hope that they are the first of a number. But the truth is that our relationship is long and strong. Australian universities and Indian universities have been working together for many decades.
During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Gift City in 2022, the city's regulatory body, International Financial Services Authority, signed memorandums with regulatory authorities of Singapore, Luxembourg, Qatar and Sweden. The achievements have enhanced the city's standing. Earlier this year, Google announced that it plans to open a global fintech operations hub in Gift City. The place is already home to over 20 major international banks, including Barclays and HSBC.
India's Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal, speaking at the DPIIT-CII National Conference on Ease of Doing Business, emphasized that India has moved beyond its historical challenges and is now seen as a promising global entity.
In the pursuit of an Atma-Nirbhar Bharat, India has made significant strides in improving its ease of doing business environment. The nation's success can be attributed to a cohesive approach that bridges the gaps between various government agencies, easing compliance norms and embracing digital transformation throughout the business life cycle. These measures have positioned India as an attractive investment destination.
This is a decisive government led by a decisive leader and somebody who wants each of us to become a facilitator and your friend in need. He wants each of us to be hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with each of you in your contribution to nation building.
Key government initiatives such as the National Single Window System, PM Gati Shakti Plan and reductions in regulatory burdens have bolstered investors' confidence. India's remarkable progress is reflected in the World Bank's Doing Business report, where it jumped 79 places to 63rd position out of the 190 economies in 2020.
We have already reduced 39,000 plus compliances. Some have been eliminated, some have been made easier. We draw up a simple portal where we monitor the status of approvals of industry projects also. Businesses who are wanting to start. It could be an importer, exporter, it could be a person who's investing in industry, manufacturing, trading, any business. We can open it up for everybody so that Indian investors are also encouraged.
India's remarkable journey in enhancing ease of doing business is a testament to its commitment to economic growth and self-reliance. This further solidifying its place on the global stage as an attractive hub for commerce and industry. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, TD India.
In order to boost biogas production in India, Indian Prime Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, who is in Germany, met with Verbio. Now, what is Verbio? Verbio is the German company which is credited with setting up of Asia's largest biogas plant in Indian state of Punjab. And Verbio now aims to set up at least 15 more such plants in Indian states of Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Mihir Maikri of DD India gets us more details in this report.
As the world is witnessing a climate crisis of unprecedented proportions, India is now emerging as a role model for countries around the globe in the field of biogas and its production. With an aim to improve the production of biogas in India, the country's Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, who is in Germany, met with Verbio. This German company, which has set up Asia's largest biogas plant in the Indian state of Punjab, now aims to set up 15 more such plants in Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Minister Puri also met the CEO of the German Biogas Association, Claudius da Costa Gomez, in Berlin, and said they tried to find a solution to the problem of stubble burning, as Germany is a world leader in producing biogas from stubble.
The German Biogas Association is very happy that the Indian government is promoting biogas much more right now, and in future that bio-waste and all organic material which is possible to use in biogas plants will be used in biogas plants to produce energy.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government's thrust on India's energy transition and self-sufficiency has evoked interest around the world. On Wednesday, Indian Minister Puri also met German Vice-Chancellor Dr. Robert Habeck to discuss ways to further enhance strong economic and commercial relations and expanding existing collaboration in areas of compressed biogas and green hydrogen between India and Germany. But what exactly is biogas? Biogas is a renewable energy source produced by the breakdown of organic matter. This process is called anaerobic digestion. Biogas can occur naturally or as a part of an industrial process to intentionally create it as a fuel. Now let's take a look at the significance of biogas sector in India. Reduced reliance on imported fuels. India can enhance energy security, mitigate risk associated with price volatility, and geopolitical uncertainties. Attracting investments. Expanding the biogas infrastructure can attract domestic and foreign investments and drive job creation. And alternative fuel. Promoting biogas as a cooking fuel in rural areas will improve indoor air quality and reduce health risks. With Global Biofuel Alliance and many other initiatives, there is ample potential for setting up biogas plants in India, considering a livestock population of nearly 535 million. The dissemination of biogas technology is and will be a boon for Indian farmers in the days to come. Mihir Makuri reporting for DD India.
Pollution levels in India's national capital, Delhi, continue to deteriorate as the air quality index has soared. Many areas of Delhi also witnessed EQI in the severe category as per the Central Pollution Control Board. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj reports.
Air quality index is shockingly high, and air quality is deteriorating with each passing day in India's national capital. And so much so that it has now started impacting the health of citizens here.
Masks are up again here in India's national capital, Delhi. But this time for a different reason. Air quality index soaring with each passing day.
See, the rising levels of pollution, it's very bad right now, and the AQI is somewhere around 700 to 800, which is obviously not good. They say that anything above 50 is very injurious for your health.
Blanket of toxic air, here, there, and everywhere. The air pollution levels are hazardous, impacting everyone who's out on the streets. And the reason? It's just not one. Vehicular pollution, local pollution, and stubble burning.
I think because of the pollution, it's pretty suffocating at the moment.
Just came today in Delhi, and living just few hours is problematic for me. I'm feeling asthmatic.
It's time we wake up. We wake up for a better future, for us and for the future generations to come.
A day after marginal improvement in the air quality, the air pollution levels have gone into the severe category in Delhi once again, with AQI of over 400 observed in various parts of the national capital, which goes on to show that what is the level of air quality right now here in Delhi. But the larger picture remains that what is the ultimate solution of this problem, which is causing various issues to people staying in the national capital. With camera person Vish Bandhu, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj for DD India, New Delhi.
Well, India's Home Minister Amit Shah addressed the National Symposium on Promotion of Organic Products through Cooperatives, organized by National Cooperative Organics Limited, as the chief guest in New Delhi. India's Home Minister Amit Shah also launched the logo, website and brochure of NCOL and also distributed membership certificates to the members.
India's organic market is poised to emerge as one of the most trusted brands in the coming years. India's Home Minister and Minister of Cooperation Amit Shah addressed the National Symposium on Promotion of Organic Products through Cooperatives, organized by National Cooperative Organics Limited in New Delhi. He released 6 products: tur dal, chana dal, sugar, rajma, basmati rice, sona masuri under Bharat Organics brand. This will be sold through mother dairy outlets and online platforms. Home Minister said that 20 such products will be released by December.
Bharat Organics न केवल भारत आने वाले दिनों में दुनिया के ऑर्गेनिक मार्केट का सबसे विश्वसनीय और सबसे बड़ा ब्रांड बनने जा रहा है। मुझे इसका भरोसा है, क्योंकि मुझे कोऑपरेटिव की ताकत भी मालूम है, मुझे हमारे किसान की ताकत भी मालूम है। 6 उत्पादों को लॉन्च किया है। दिसंबर 23 तक 20 उत्पादों को हम लॉन्च करेंगे और ये 20 चीजों को उत्पादन करने वाले, इसकी खेती करने वाले ऑर्गेनिक किसानों को इसकी फायदा मिलने की शुरुआत होगी। भारत ब्रांड के साथ उनका ये प्रोडक्ट अभी तो भारत में, बाद में विश्व भर के घरों में पहुंचेगा।
He said that the excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides has not only reduced the fertility, polluted the land and water, but has also given many diseases.
उत्पादन को बढ़ाने में फर्टिलाइजर और पेस्टिसाइड के अत्यधिक उपयोग ने कई बुरे परिणाम हमारे भविष्य पर डाल दिए हैं और आज वो धीरे 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 नजर के सामने दिखाई पड़ते हैं। उसने भूमि की उर्वरकता को कम किया है, लैंड की फर्टिलिटी को कम किया है, भूमि को प्रदूषित किया है, पानी को प्रदूषित किया है और ज्यादा फर्टिलाइजर और पेस्टिसाइड्स के उपयोग वाले अन्न के कारण मानव शरीर कई प्रकार के रोगों से ग्रसित भी हुआ है।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah also highlighted that India is producing surplus grains today, but there is a need to increase agricultural production by reducing the consumption of chemical fertilizers, and this can be done only by moving towards organic farming.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. 2023 is set to be warmest year on record, scientists warning ahead of COP28 climate summit. Indian opener Shubham Gill becomes the world's top-ranked batsman in the ICC ODI rankings, replacing Pakistan's skipper Babar Azam.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. In other news, 2023 is set to be the warmest year on record due to the unprecedented temperature irregularities, a climate scientist has warned. Now, this comes after October 2023 was identified as the warmest October globally, with an average surface temperature of 15.3 degrees Celsius. According to scientists, the Earth has not witnessed such high temperatures in more than 100,000 years. The warning comes ahead of the COP28 climate summit in Dubai.
And when we look at the data, we can say that the extra heat in the Earth system comes from a range of different locations. So if we look at different latitudinal bands of the planet, then we can say that there's, in October, extra heat coming from the Northern Hemisphere land.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time for some sports news. Indian opener Shubham Gill becomes the world's top-ranked batsman in the ICC ODI rankings, replacing Pakistan's skipper Babar Azam. Gill is at #1 position, followed by Babar Azam of Pakistan and Quinton de Kock. Gill has been on the dream run this year. He was in fact behind Babar in the ODI rankings this year, but the Indian batter finally overtook Azam for the first time in his career. Gill has scored 1,449 runs in 2023 alone, at an average of 63 and a strike rate of 103.72. Meanwhile, Mohammad Siraj of India has also become the world's #1 ranked ODI bowler after his performance in the ongoing World Cup. Siraj leads the pack, followed closely by Keshav Maharaj and Adam Zampa. And after cricket, some soccer. Moving on to the English Premier League, where Tottenham Hotspur hopes of returning to the top of the table were completely dashed as they lost 4-1 to Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson scored hat-trick in the London derby. Earlier, Tottenham scored the first goal after 6 minutes of the match as Dejan Kulusevski's deflected shot found the net, and minutes later scored goal was ruled out offside. Later, Tottenham was reduced to 9 players. Centre-back Christian Romero was sent off after a video assistant referee check for a dangerous tackle, and Spurs then lost his defensive partner Mickey Van de Ven and playmaker James Maddison to injury before half-time. Chelsea eventually made their numerical advantage count as Jackson put them ahead from the close range in the 75th minute. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook. You can connect with us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram as well. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.